Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio.
Our conversation today with our guest, Elizabeth Tripp, was extremely lovely. Elizabeth is a registered dietitian practicing as a lifestyle design coach that folds in life coaching, reiki healing, transcendental meditation, and more. She helps her clients get to some of the roots of their limiting beliefs and helps them accept and rewrite their stories from their upbringing so they can receive the excellence that is in store for them totally unblocked. Elizabeth has worked with hundreds of people who have felt broken inside. And with her guidance, she's helped them get to the source, let it go, learn their soul's lessons, and transform their lives. We'd love to have you screenshot your podcast player and tag us on Instagram at Health Coach Radio. The show notes for this episode and all previous episodes of Health Coach Radio can be found at primalhealthcoach.com/radio. Enrollment is now open for the fall semester of the Primal Health Coach Institute Level 2 certification course, an advanced coaching course that teaches you how to create transformational coach-client relationships. In our mind, the best way to grow your coaching practice. Not only will you learn and practice advanced coaching skills, but this course also satisfies the educational requirements to enable you to sit for the NVC HWC credentialing exam, so you can become a board-certified health and wellness coach. Fun fact, PHCI has a 100% pass rate for the board exam. Every one of our graduates who've sat the board exam have passed it. Stay tuned to the end of the show to learn more or visit primalhealthcoach.com/level2. Please join us for this incredibly enlightening conversation with our guest, Elizabeth Tripp.
All right, Elizabeth Tripp, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have you.
Thank you so much, guys. This is so awesome. I'm really excited to be here, and it's great to be of service to your community and share more about what I do.
Yeah, we'd love it. We'd love talking to other coaches. So if you could please start us off, kick us off with a little bit of about who you are, your kind of 3 to 5 minute origin story.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, my journey to where I've gotten here today really started back in middle school. And I'll tell you guys a little bit about this story. So I can remember walking down my middle school hallways. I was the same height I am today, about 5'6", and I weighed 175 pounds. So I was 13 years old. And relative to the other 13-year-olds, I was considered big by many of the standards that I was, seeing the other girls were weighing. And the peers in my class, they did a good job at making sure that I knew that. So from 6th grade to 8th grade, I was bullied by a group of teenage boys who really picked out the flaws in terms of my shape and size in comparison to what was standard for the other little girls in our class, and made it a mission to really torture me in that way. And there was a specific day that really changed my life. And that was one morning when I was walking into school. I was heading to my locker. And I was just turning the combo, and you can always remember like left 6, right 4, 0 straight. And as I opened it, this loose leaf piece of paper fell to the ground, and I thought, what is this? And I bent down to pick it up, and as I picked it up, I began to unfold it. And I started to see that there was this hand-drawn picture of a bus, and glaring right back at me were these words, "Elizabeth, you're as big as a bus." And right when I started to get awareness of what was going on, these snickering and laughing of these teenage boys just started to, overtake the experience. And tears ran down my face. And, that's when I remember accepting that I was never going to be beautiful. It was that very day. I was like, I am so ugly. what is wrong with me? And I remember going home that day, and I didn't tell anybody about what happened. It was like I was ashamed and embarrassed. I remember laying up in my room in my bed, and I was like, I'm going to do something about this. And my mom was always on a diet and always trying to, improve her body shape and size. And so it was natural for me to think, you know what, I'm just going to get on it. I'm just going to get on the treadmill mom does.
Mm-hmm.
But what I tell people is it's so fascinating that, I got on the treadmill when I was 13, and it's like I never got off of it. I ran and ran and ran, and my body shape changed. I lost, like, what was it? I think 60 pounds in 18 months. So by the time I went into high school, I was 118. And people said, "You're beautiful." But you know what was wild? My mind said, "That's a lie. You're ugly."
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what I did, it was like I had to be thin to be accepted, to be loved. And I had to take the opinions of what everybody said was beautiful and literally make myself that way. So I was looking to the TV, to the girls, to what the guys wanted. And my whole life started to become about what everybody else thought.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, deep down, I was just really struggling. It was like I never felt good enough. And I never felt like, even if I was a size 4 or 6, that I was even somebody that someone could love. So there was all this emotion and pain. And I got really good at counting calories and figuring out what to eat to stay a certain shape. And it just was natural. It's like, go to school to be a dietitian, because that's, all that information anyways. So really, long story short, I studied nutrition, and I made it, in the beginning, a mission to help people who had felt just like me, like really ugly and disgusted with themselves. I just had this passion, like no one should feel that way. And when I started to counsel people and get across the table from them, I was realizing, Lauren, Aaron, that there was something deeper going on that was driving them to do what they were doing with their body and food. And just giving them a meal plan wasn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
I had to actually get to the root of it. So again, I'm taking some twists and turns and leaving some things out, but eventually I came to a position in my life where I had to make some big choices, because I didn't feel happy and fulfilled with my career. Even though I had a good education, good job, I looked on paper like very successful. I was in a good relationship, not so good, hint, hint, behind doors. And when that relationship dissolved, it was this huge awakening for me. Is this the way I want to live the rest of my life? Feeling like I have to prove myself to everybody else, and that who I am is just never enough. So as fate would have it, I was led to a very special person, a healer, who really helped me look at myself and that experience back in 7th grade, and helped me get clear about what I needed to learn from that, and how I had a choice to let what they had made me feel like go and decide something new for myself, that I am beautiful, and my body is this wonderful sacred temple, and that my well-being is my inside job, and it's really based off of how I see and understand myself, and that I can create my own definition of what it means to be beautiful and love the life that I live. So here I am. This is what I do for a living. I help other people really awaken to the beauty of their life by seeing the beauty of their body, and really get them to understand the beautiful life lessons that come from the painful experiences that we have,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can enjoy their life. They don't have to live defined by the past. So that's my adventure. That's where I've been through.
Oh
Love
man,
it.
that hit close to home. I don't know if anybody else listening was also a big little girl and had to put up with that. Oh gosh, there's so many things I want to know. I guess so now you're working in this space where you help other people awaken to the beauty of their life and the beauty of their body. That's hard. That sounds hard, because so many of us our worthiness is tied up in what those little bullies in the 6th or 8th grade said.
Right.
And that's so hard to unwind. Like, so I'd love to know, how hard is this work that you do? Like, how hard it's, and the reason why I'm asking is because I kind of play in this space myself where
Mhm.
I, as a health coach, I've moved away from the aesthetic piece of it altogether. Like, I
Yeah.
don't really want to help you shred a bikini body, so go somewhere else and do
Yeah.
that. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
And trying to get people to connect to like the miracle of the body they're walking around in.
Yeah.
And I do that through biochemical pathway. Look at this cool biochemistry you're walking around in. But there's so much lingering programming
Yeah.
from their childhood and from their youth that
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard. So talk about
Yeah.
how hard this is.
Well, it's interesting. I want to refrain from the word hard because I tend to strongly believe that our word is our wand. So it may be a challenge, right, and an interesting space for people to walk through, but we can always make it easy. We can always hit the easy button, because as we bring people into this space, and I love how you say you're done with sort of holding space for people to get the shredded bikini body. You want them to see the miracle.
Mhm.
So that's the first part of pressing that easy button. That's like, as soon as we can, open that space for them to see your body is an incredible vehicle, and it's a temple, that there is this essence within you that lives. And in my work, I call that a soul. Your soul came into your body, and it's riding in this car, and it's driving around in this thing we call life. And it is here to teach you something very important about who you are. And inside of that, many people are learning self-worth, self-love. And we have to go through these painful experiences because they serve for a purpose. That's the thing. A lot of people get stuck in the emotion, in the pain. They get afraid to look at it, and that's what makes it hard. Rather than, let's understand that this happened for a purpose and for us to learn something important
Mhm.
about ourselves. And that will help us know better who we are and how much we can then respect and love that person that we are. Right? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it was a beautiful answer. And a lot of what you shared there really lands when I think about the clients I work with. I was thinking about this concept of the emotion wheel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the emotion wheel, but you
Yeah.
have these emotions on the outside and they come into this root emotion, and there's like 7 root emotions, and unworthiness and not enoughness and all of these emotions that clients show up, and like inadequacy. The root of all of those is fear.
Fear. Yeah.
It's all fear. And so I get that sense of fear from my clients who are not, I don't use the word struggling. I don't want to use the word hard. Like the way you framed that was really like the challenge of overcoming or facing up to their programming when they were
Mhm.
young is scary. And there's fear. They don't know. It's the great unknown. We've never had to do it before.
Yeah. Well, you know what that thing gets me thinking about. I'll share a little example, because it's true. Think about it. Any person listening to this now, including you guys, right? We've all been a little girl, a little boy, right? And if we think about it, our parents or adults are this big and we're
Mhm.
this big. So imagine in your life, you have an adult who's maybe angry or upset. You didn't put your toys away. You didn't make your bed. You forgot to do this. You're not listening. And their energy in that situation is really big, really strong. There's a lot of emotion there. And remember, they're here and you're here because we're only like 3.5 feet tall, if that, by the time we're 6 or 7. So we end up often, right, feeling so scared and overwhelmed by the emotions that the adult or the figures in our life are having. And because we as kids aren't equipped with the tools necessarily, unless our parents are gurus and meditators, and they're already very self-aware, to know what to do with that emotion, those feelings. So we will feel scared. And in that experience, we'll also maybe feel, oh my God, I did something bad to upset my mom and dad.
Mhm.
And now maybe I'm a bad little boy or girl. And you see how quick we can make an opinion of ourselves, and then we can think something thereafter about ourselves. And then now there's not just the fear, but there's also this resentment we're holding, that we're not good and that we have to be scared that we will upset people or make them, angry with us. And I see that a lot in my own clients as I bring them back to the root of why they're doing what they're doing with their body. It's like, I felt scared and overwhelmed and like I had done something bad. So I went to food to comfort me.
Right.
So
Right. That's so common. That's so
yeah.
common. Aaron and I both work predominantly with women, but I've worked with a lot of men as well who, when we really get down to the root cause, I find humans in general, when they're using food for something other than to satiate hunger, there's these common triggers. Stress is a really big one.
Yeah.
Social events is another really big one where people tend to kind of lose a little bit of their path or their way, and it's like feeling accepted.
Mm-hmm.
We joke about how, no one says a word if I'm at work eating McDonald's or they order pizza and birthday cake, but God forbid I do nothing but pack a salad or maybe I'm doing more of a keto approach and oh my God, it's going to kill you. And everyone makes fun of you and they shame you into making better choices for yourself, and that transcends gender. But so much of this stuff, as far as kind of going back to childhood, I mean, we've talked to a few guests in the past that talk about how a lot of this stuff is formed at a very young age. And that we carry forward with us as far as body image. And I have 4 children, 3 of which are daughters. The first one, I know I made a lot of mistakes. Sorry, Mia, but I was young at the time and I've tried to make up for a lot of things. But in meaning just myself and my own body image and how that must have come across to her, and now with my little ones, I'm just trying to focus much more so on the power of what your body can do. And it's this amazing tool and let's use it and let's stay active and that kind of stuff. And that's coming through with them. But sometimes even now I still see tendencies, especially in, like, I have twins. They're about to turn 7. Their personalities are totally different. And Sam is carefree, loving, couldn't care less. She's the unicorn. She's always wearing things that mismatch. She doesn't give a crap what anybody thinks about her. Whereas little Charlie, very different. Does this look okay? I'm afraid of looking weird. What if people make fun of me? Right? So I'm really curious too, how much of this is sort of just rooted in who we are. Because these are the same children in the same household, kind of sort of treated the same way. They're not the same people, but they're raised the same way by the same parents. They know the same people. They go to the same school. They have the same class.
Yeah.
But their picture and their confidence in themselves as individuals, and I'm already starting to see it in appearance, mostly about like how they wear their hair or clothes or whatever.
Yeah.
Fascinating to me.
Yeah, you said so many really beautiful things that I want to touch on that are really powerful. But what you're ending off here on, which I think is important to share, is that you're really noticing then the uniqueness of every individual, even though they may be identical in the way that they were designed as a human being, like same face, same structure. Within each of us, there is a unique essence, and no one made the same. And so this unique essence comes into our bodies, and it has a unique set of lessons and things it wants to learn and grow from as it experiences life. And therefore, the expectation that there is this cookie cutter way that's going to work for everyone, particularly around well-being, health, and beauty, it's just not possible, because that essence has desires and wants to experience certain things and go through certain things that is unlike anybody else. So it won't express itself in a cookie cutter way. It will be different. It will have different interpretations of life, and it will be meaningful for them, and what will be part of what we call their journey in their adventure of life. But the thing about society is it likes to lump all people together and say, this is what you should think. This is how you should look. This is how you should eat, and this is how you should behave. So we're grown up taught with all these standards, and none of the uniqueness is actually supported. And we're actually reprimanded or told that we're bad or wrong when we go outside of what is considered normal or acceptable. And that then will begin this change within us where we start to think, oh, maybe who I am isn't okay. So there's actually like this huge need to really be listening and recognizing everybody's going to have an opinion. They're going to have a ton of things to say about how you should look, how you should dress, how you should talk, how you should, eat. But whose opinion matters the most is yours. And I don't think that's celebrated enough.
No. Taking the power back or something. So I'm just curious, like when people come to you for help, who are these people and what do they ask?
Yeah.
What are they asking for?
They usually come, men and women. I love working with men. I think sometimes they're in this kind of space where they're considered, you got this kind of like beauty conversation or handsome thing, you're strong, but really they don't. They have equal as many insecurities as women do. They just express them differently. So I work with men and women, and they're usually coming to me overwhelmed, stressed, feeling like they're out of control. Their mind is very busy, and they're not feeling healthy inside themselves. They either are struggling with their weight, they have long been, feeling like who they are, shape and size is never going to change. Either they're always going to feel ugly, they're always going to feel overweight. So they're struggling with their own self-esteem and confidence, and they're feeling stuck. It's like nothing about my life is working, and I know I'm here for a reason, but I can't figure out how to get out of what I'm in and cross over the bridge to this life that I'm enjoying, this, sort of lifestyle that I love, and doing something that I love, because I'm so in the thick of being inside of what's not working. And a lot of it can come from the health conversation. And then there's a relationship branches and prosperity gaps that also flow in, because everything's connected.
Mm-hmm. Well, that resonates. Sort of being drowned by the hustle.
Oh my gosh.
That's how I interpreted it.
Well, and that's the reason both Erin and I made the switch out of our past careers to run away from that, because we both got sucked up into it. We're both successful in our own rights in those others' careers, but it just wasn't worth it, right, Erin? We were just like,
still so hard to not hard.
It's all good. I love that I shifted you there. That's so cool.
But it is really still challenging. Left the busy, hectic career that didn't, whatever, but still getting stuck in the hustle, still programmed. Like if you're not hustling, you're not moving. And it's just very, like there's a lot of worth tied up in being busy and having a lot on the go, and kind of setting yourself aside to produce and be productive and all those. I don't know.
It brings me to something. I was just writing something really for a program that I'm developing. But what you're saying is matching what I was coming to share in this program. So there's this kind of paradigm that we're taught, right? It's like when you go about life, you'll be happy when you have the good education, the good job, the good paying money, the good relationship, then the marriage, then the kids, and then the house, right? It's like all of these things have to be checked off for you to have that happy life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we work to then check off these things, and we work to then, be able to kind of sit back and say, oh, look, mom and dad, I got 1, 2, and 3 checked. Or look to your boss, like I've got the great raise and the great paycheck now. So when we really listen to this, it's like we're taught to actually do things for the approval of others and for them to see how good we are, by the nature of just creating this illusionary checklist that then when we get everything all checked off, we'll be happy. Yet it conditions people to be these people pleasing. There are no boundaries. We're always having to do more to get more. And that's where that like tired rat race comes. That what if the checklist is just an illusion? It's
Mm-hmm.
not even real. It's just something that we're taught. And that our happiness is really just a choice that we can make every single day, regardless of what's in our bank account, regardless of what kind of, career path we're walking, that those things will work themselves out as we choose to make happiness something that we invite into our life, not something that's conditional on a set of circumstances or things that we check off for ourselves.
Yep, agreed. I can totally relate to what Erin said about constantly like having this driving need to always be productive, and that comes from probably years of being a single parent for 10 years. And I had 2 kids to raise. I had a full-time job. I had a house to take care of. And literally it boiled down to, I've got to spare 15 minutes. And instead of how can I enjoy that, it was what can I get done, and then I wonder why I'm exhausted and eventually get sick. And these are predominantly the type of women that I work with that are kind of in that stage of life right now.
Yeah.
And one of the exercises we try to work on, because this comes up, they're just not happy with, and then insert whatever it is, right? When we kind of go through like our wheel of contentedness and how do we feel about these various areas of our life. And more often than not, they're not particularly happy with many of them.
Yeah.
And I loved what you said about, we can choose to be happy, but that just seems so alien. Like, what do you mean? Happiness isn't, how do I just choose to be happy? But the conversation that tends to lead me down is to really take stock of everything you do have, and this concept of feeling grateful for, my house might be a screaming mess and it's a disaster and I got to clean it up. But you know what? I have a house and a roof over my head. And I've got 2 screaming, healthy children running around, trashing the place all the time, and just trying to learn to be grateful for whatever it is that's leading me to this kind of feeling of the way things should be versus the way they really are. And so I heard you use this term, like this prosperity gap.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we were talking before we recorded about how that can certainly relate to money, but it can relate to any aspect of your life.
Yep.
So, and I think this is a great tie-in, kind of what you just said, this concept of choosing to be happy, what that really means, right?
Yeah.
How do you choose your emotion? And then how do we kind of think through that prosperity gap?
Yeah, well, happiness is a state of being. It's a state of being. So it is an emotion, it is a feeling. And we know that feelings are impermanent, right? That they will wave in and out and ebb and flow. That's a part of being human beingness, right? As emotion. And so when we can understand that happiness is a feeling, and we can understand the concept that emotions are impermanent, right? Then we can invite it being then really seeing it as a choice, right? That it's not something that you have to put condition on, because if we do that, we're just separating ourselves from the desire to feel that feeling of happiness. And to tie that into what you're speaking about, the practice of gratitude can really close that gap and really teach an individual that is taught almost their entire life to put the standard of how happy they are, on the relationships they have, on the money in their bank account, on the size of their homes, on the way their kids are behaved, right? And show them that when you come back into a space of gratitude and you're really putting attention towards what you do have, you're dissolving the focus in your mind to what you don't. And so you're automatically coming back to the present moment, and you're inducing these feelings, these states of beings of like, oh, that's good, or that feels nice, or that feels like warm and bubbly. And all of a sudden now you're in a state of being where you would associate that as happy. So the practice of gratitude really pulls you out of the, future forwarding conversations. What's going to happen next? How do I get this in order to feel this way? Or the past conversations like, oh, I should have done that, or I could have done this. And it just really catapults you into a space of presence.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, the relationship we have with ourselves is the most important one in determining our own happiness, because no one else is in charge of us except for us. And so I love the gratitude practice, because as you do that, you become fuller and you become more, your cup becomes more full with good and content and that warm and nice and feelings of like, I've got this.
Mm-hmm.
And some may consider that to feel happy.
Yeah. Gratitude practice is really insanely powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about the time when I was really consistently doing it. And the way you described it is kind of like dropping into presence that's what it feels like. Because I remember I use this example a lot, but it's like, I remember driving around and I'm grateful that you used your turn signal. I'm grateful this road construction is done. Like tiny little things in the moment that I was just articulating gratitude for without thinking about it.
Yep.
But also what it did, so I was finding myself, I was feeling happier when I did it consistently. By the way, I want to just start doing it again because I remember now how happy I felt, because there was moments of gratitude everywhere.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I found is that what I was able to do, what it did for me was it brought my big dealness down. Like everything that seemed like a big deal, it brought me really into granular, like the ability to see magic in little granular things instead of just as a high performing, hyper productive person, just always thinking about the big deal, the big picture, the big project. I could get into these granular little moments of gratitude. And I think there's something really neat about getting to that sort of small, sort of in small.
Yeah, it slows you down. What you're really describing is like a slowing down of your own thoughts.
Yeah.
And it filters out what isn't helping, what is focused on the lack or what's missing. And because you're focused on the present moment and you're slowing down and you're looking at in attention to what is now here and you're abundant in, your mind actually has that sort of understanding, I've got everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, there's no other kind of what we call chatter that would be pulling you away from, what is now the experience of feeling like, oh, everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a beautiful practice of slowing down. Yeah.
Yeah. So is this something that you use non-negotiably with all the people that you work with? Do you start with this?
It's a beautiful practice that is absolutely a part of what I do in my coaching, as well as personally how I manifest and how I draw, designs into my life, certain things that come through, because in that kind of conversation, there, like I said, there's no chain to the past. There's no tie to the future. I'm here in this moment saying, thank you so much for all these amazing clients I have. And thank you so much for all the beautiful flow of prosperity coming through. Thank you for this wonderful day where my body is so healthy and I feel so great. And so it's like I'm actually holding a space of just being aware of everything I have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big piece into how people gain momentum into seeing that they can be the masterful creators of their life. It's a powerful practice. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the more you can be aware of what you have to be grateful for, and then whatever it is you might be reaching for, whatever your goals are. I mean, my thought was it just makes that process and that journey so much more enjoyable instead
Yeah.
of always being discontented with where you are, accepting that you are where you are for a reason,
Yeah.
right? That everything that's led you, I mean, everything that's happened before is what led you here.
Yeah.
Let it go, right? Appreciate the things that were positive and got you there. What can you learn from the things that were maybe less than positive? And how can you, rather than just thinking of that in negative terms and something that happened to you, what lesson did you learn? What can you take sort of moving forward? You know,
Right. Yeah.
because I think the more we focus on everything that went wrong, or the more we focus on kind of what's wrong, that's what makes things feel hard. To kind of use Erin's term, right?
Yeah. Well,
It's
that's
hard.
building a narrative.
Right. And I don't know, especially around health. I get questions from a lot of my older women. Why is this so hard? A lot of some of my older women that are now dealing with perimenopause or menopause. And, why is this just so hard? They kind of want it to be effortless. And I'm like, look, I don't think good health is effortless. You have to put in effort to be healthy, to be fit. It's not effortless, but it doesn't have to be hard in the way you're thinking of it. Right?
Correct. You can actually move from hard to easy by looking at the paradigm of hard. So everything in that paradigm, right, we got from somewhere. So when we look at, even in my own experience, like watching my mom as a kid, always on Weight Watchers, always on, Jenny Craig, always on the next, quick fix. Well, it didn't work for her. But what I was hearing from her was, this is a lot of hard work, and it's a sacrifice, and it's a
Yeah.
commitment. And it means I can't eat the foods that I like and enjoy the things that I really desire. So what I'm hearing and understanding then is that losing weight is hard work. It's not easy. And therefore, then my opinion of that process is then shaped. And that's how I then see what it takes to then get to where I want to go. So we actually have to really understand where we're taught to see this paradigm and how it functions or impacts. So then it's creating this whole way of perceiving an experience that may not necessarily be true to what it has to be, because we have the choice all the time to decide how we want to see the world and how we want to feel about the world. The world doesn't decide that for us. And that's something important to remember, that you have the choice to think and feel on your own. And you can always change the way you're thinking and feeling anytime. So to do that, you actually have to be willing to let go of what is like standard conversation around well-being and invite that, what if it's easy, in a sense that you already have what you need within you. You as the essence of who you are, have a wealth of well-being inside. What is now your responsibility is to access it by getting to know yourself, slowing down, building a relationship with yourself. And what if we called that flow? What if we called that like a wonderful process of just flowing into who you really are? Wouldn't that now feel like you're floating down a nice stream and you can just relax because there's no more of that pressure coming from that old conversation? You're defining how you want to see your well-being. And that takes time, but it can be easy when we allow ourselves to open up to a new way of seeing it, because that's how powerful we are. But again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I would share your opinion. I think it's our birthright to be effortlessly healthy and happy, and then it's our programming or what we pick up along the way that sort of glitches that programming, but it's still in there, right?
Yeah.
And so interesting, like you threw out this whole idea that when we're raised around our moms who are dieting all the time, we get the sense that health and beauty and all of this stuff is hard work, sacrifice. You have to commit to it. And that is the language that as a health coach, I'm done with. It's like, no, No, you can have just a really peaceful, totally chill, very happy, undisciplined relationship with your body and achieve health, because that's actually in you. It's just in there. So that really speaks to me. So this paradigm of things being hard was programmed into us. We got it from somewhere. And in some ways, the gratitude practice helps us realize that we are the creators of our perceptions and our programming. Or does this help when you're working with clients take the power back from the little metaphorical bullies leaving little metaphorical notes in the locker? Like, is there a forgiveness piece? Do we go back in time and forgive the little bullies, or what do we do with those little bullies?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And coming from a spiritual perspective, there's a lot of talk in the spiritual community about forgiveness, and it being so important. I pause to that conversation because it is in many ways something that allows a person to feel better, right? And to make peace. But there's also a piece on seeing that it was supposed to happen the way it did for a reason, and that there's a lesson behind that too. And sometimes the really hurtful and painful things that people do, they're here for you in many ways to get something that you've been needing to understand for yourself. And so you don't always have to get the apology from someone, or you don't have to apologize to yourself to have gone through that experience, but to just recognize that this is a part of the journey of you understanding who you are. And many people find that the forgiveness practice can soften that space, but when you really understand that it's something that you have chosen for yourself to go through, that you have decided on even before you came here, there really doesn't need to have to be forgiveness, because it just happened the way it was supposed to. So that's my take on it.
I like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's something to be said for when you realize your own power.
Yeah.
The bullies and all of that stuff from the past, it becomes less important, I guess. I mean, if as we start to kind of make that transition, and the more we focus on how unfair it was and how poorly it made me feel, and you just continue to kind of dredge up the negative emotions instead of focusing on the positives of where you want to go and everything you've gained in the meantime. Doesn't mean you have to want to go sit down for dinner with these people, or anything like that. And certainly a lesson of what to teach your children, what to never do.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. And interestingly, I think to tie in with the gratitude in this conversation too, like I can look at those bullies back in 7th grade and I can actually feel so much gratitude for them. And I can say, thank you so much for teaching me what true beauty really is. And I wouldn't even mind, actually, if I had an opportunity to look into the eyes of the one particular little boy who drew that picture and say thank you. Because on a deeper level, without them, I wouldn't be here where I am today. And that also serves true for the partner that broke my heart 5 years ago and led me on this path. I feel so much peace for that relationship, even though in the 4 years we were together, there was a tremendous amount of pain, hurt, shame, guilt, anxiety, fear. Everything that happened in that relationship was beautiful because it brought me to a place where I had to actually make a choice. Was this how I was going to live the rest of my life? Or was I going to make a transformation and really understand why I had attracted this and what was the purpose of it? And I think that in our society is not often something we put a lot of time and effort to do. And that we often just live with the wound buried deep beneath us. And if we bring up the subject, it can be pretty painful or emotional for a lot of people. But really having that peace and complete with those people and knowing that you can have that thankfulness for them means you got what you needed and you're good now.
No, that's pretty empowering. Okay, well, the reason why I think we both went down these garden paths with these questions is because Laura and I are working with clients that we see have lingering, beliefs about themselves, that stories that they've been told or have told about themselves, that their whole identity is wrapped up in it now. And it's like, how can we get, it's from both of us as to like, and from people listening, how can we get our clients to recognize the beauty in the learning experience and the beauty of having been exposed to these people who in the moment seemed like terrible for us, but how we pull through and emerge. So I think that's a lot where that our questioning came from, just understanding that. So you've explained that to us very, very beautifully.
Oh, good.
Lots to take back to our client sessions, I think.
I think I have a lot to learn though, to try to equip my clients with the notion that, gee, if you ever see them, maybe you should thank them. That would be a huge stretch. But I do think, again, the sense of gratitude for where you are now and what you learned from that experience and how they choose to think about that other individual at this point, to your point, is their choice.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Whatever choice is going to serve them.
Yeah. And to put it in context, that comes, through a process. It's like, you actually have to look at like, well, why was that person there? And what was it that they said that made you feel the way you did? And can you see how that impacted you moving forward? And now you have a chance to be able to choose something different for yourself. It's like, but they were the catalyst for that. And if they weren't there, then you wouldn't be where you are. But if we're stuck in the hurt that came from the situation, we're not even open to seeing the deeper meaning of it. So we actually have to open people up to seeing the hurt serves a purpose. It's not very bad and awful and terrible as we like to see it as, that we can see it as meaning or wisdom or an opportunity to transform and get to know who we are. And that's an important piece, because it won't come from just saying, okay, now say thank you after they hurt you. It's like you have to help them see the whole bigger picture. Yeah.
And is there, I'm just thinking, I'm thinking in terms of like putting this kind of knowledge into practice as a health coach. And I'm thinking about, I work with my clients for about 8 weeks. I have a pretty short time spent with them. And that was always by design, because I believed that we could get in and out and get you feeling really good in your body. It doesn't even take that long. And that was one of sort of the hooks of my practice. But I'm thinking, if you get into this kind of work, like you're unwinding and deprogramming, years or decades of programming. And that do people kind of move back and forth? Do they sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back? Like, does it take it's pretty time consuming, it sounds like, to get people really into doing this work?
Well, actually, when you help someone see the soul lesson, remember, from my perspective, the way I operate, the way I work, and the principles I work under is that there's a soul in my body, and it has a reason for being here, and it wants to learn and grow from the experiences it has. So when someone comes to me and they're inside of a stuck conversation or a fear conversation, or, they're in a lot of resentment for themselves in the past, it's my job to bring them back to help to understand that, so that they can learn what their soul needs to learn very quickly. And that happens once the essence or spirit of yourself gets what it needs from the experience. It goes, okay, I got this. And now we can help program you to believe and see yourself differently. That's the human part of it. It's like, okay, now we think differently, we talk differently, we act differently, because the spirit part of ourselves is good. It got what it needed from the experience in the past. So now we're teaching our brain to catch up to what the soul got. And now we're creating thoughts and patterns of thinking that are going to change our life, because what we think, we create.
Right.
So that's the secret kind of sauce to what I do. And there's a lot of proprietary information that goes along with that, but that's like the general gist.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally 100% agree that that which we're think the most about, what's occupying our thoughts, is what's going to continue to grow, right? And trying to sort of disrupt that broken record that sort of goes around and around and around. And especially early in my coaching relationships, we spend a lot of time talking about all the things that happened to them that led them to where they are. And an interesting exercise that I've done in the past is saying, okay, let's go back and take a look at this and take ownership of some of the things along the way. About, like, we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we responded to it.
Yeah.
So, what led to something happening? What was that? What was your response to it? Moving forward, what would you do differently? But thinking in positive terms rather than focusing all the things they did wrong.
Yeah.
Or in some cases early on, a lot of people just are not willing to take ownership at all with their role in kind of how things manifested. So sometimes that's to Erin's point, like, this is a longer process, I think, for some people.
It can be. Yeah, it can be.
But I just think helping people see the impact that their actions have had on what led them here can then hopefully give them confidence to know that the way they react moving forward is what's going to get them to where they want to go.
Sure. Yeah. Really empowering them to see that there's always a good reason for things that happen, even if we see them or call them bad or awful or hurtful, that behind every pain is wisdom.
Yeah.
And there is purpose and there is power. And that may take a level of maturity of the client too. So we reach people where they're at, sometimes baby steps, sometimes just a little bit goes a long way. And then there are others who are just ready to go, I'm ready to get this, I'm ready to do it, I'm ready to shift my whole life, which I've seen in a lot of my different clients, because I have a Life by Design program that is exclusively for those who want to design and make impact on the world. And we have to bring them from the space to see, like, hey, talk about why you feel so ashamed. When was the first time that you felt that way? And I remember doing this with a client, and she's like, well, I remember being in a dressing room with my mom, and I was, 10 years old, and she was trying to zip up my dress. And while she was zipping me up, I was looking in the mirror, and I could hear her say, it's a shame you don't fit into this dress, because I want you to look good for the brunch that we're going to, and I can't get you in it. We have to get you losing weight. And here she is, 10 years old, looking at herself and repeating what her mom's saying to herself in her head. It's a shame I don't fit into this, and it's too bad I won't look good at the brunch. So now she's in this experience where she's thinking, I'm fat, I'm ugly, there's something wrong with me. And she's having all these emotions, sad, not good, feeling the shame. And all of a sudden the light bulb goes off. That's when I started to feel shame. And we see in that, it's like, well, whose stuff were you feeling? Whose conversation were you having? I was hearing my mom and talking like my mom and feeling her frustration. And I made it mean that I was ugly and fat. And it felt like bad for me. And I could feel her embarrassment. And it's like, well, whose was that? Was it even yours? Because before that dressing room, you felt okay. Did you? And she's like, yeah, I felt fine. It's like, okay, so this happened for a reason. And we're helping you see that you took on what your mom was thinking and saying and feeling. Not that mom's a bad person. She was just doing the best she could and doing what she knew. And guess who taught her to do that? Her mom and her mom and her mom. So this is an ancestral paradigm that this has been happening in this family. So now, can you see the purpose of your mom being in your life and the reason why this happened? And she's like, well, yeah, maybe I'm here to learn that I am beautiful, that I can love who I am, and that my body is perfect just the way it is. And I said, without mom, you wouldn't have the opportunity to learn this. Now, do you want to keep everything that you're thinking here that wasn't even yours to begin with? And they have these ahas. They're like, no, I don't want that anymore. And that's where we then can help them be able to create a new image or picture or understanding of who they are and go, thank you, mom, for saying what you did and me reacting the way I did. And now I'm choosing to understand myself better and choose a different way of seeing myself. So that's like, now this client's loving her body in her life and she doesn't have any anger towards her mom. They have a great relationship.
Yeah, I sometimes end up feeling sorry for the moms because whenever I do this kind of have these conversations with my clients, unfortunately it comes down to something that mom said.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's not get angry at mom. Mom was programmed from her, like, to your point, this ancestral sort of lineage of whatever it is. So I think that's really awesome. This is what I've taken away from this conversation is next time I have this conversation with my client about, oh, my mom told me I was kind of chunky when I was 7. I'm going to say, let's thank mom for that. Let's appreciate that, or get something. Let's appreciate what's good about that. And then what's really cool is maybe we can actually short circuit this ancestral sort of lineage, and maybe future generations won't even have these.
Right. Break the chain, right? Yeah. That sort of chain of events. And, like I was not joking, but half joking earlier about like the differences in what I've learned being an older parent with my twins relative to my first daughter, Mia. And I just, the intentions were always the same. I just wasn't nearly aware that of the impact of my own problem with my own self-image and how it might have impacted her, and there's a lot that this whole notion of kind of feeling sorry for the moms. I mean, we're all just trying to figure it out and kind of learn our way. And I also remember thinking to myself about how I never wanted my children to have to suffer or feel bad about anything. Like when I saw them in pain or hurt, it just drove to my core. And my initial instinct is to protect them.
Yeah.
And I did that quite a bit with both of my older two. And with my second two, I still am. But at the same time, I've also learned that the more I do for them to protect them, the longer they're reliant on me at a later age. And they never really learn to deal with things on their own.
Beautiful.
I'm seeing this now with my son's 22 now, Mia's 20. I'm still like, they call me for the most inane things that I'm like, oh my God, you're an adult. You should know how to do this. And then I'm thinking to myself, they're like this because it was me in an attempt to make life easier for them. Yep. That they haven't learned. They haven't gone stronger. Now I got to try to throw them out there and hey, it's time to adult. Yeah. Whereas with my younger two now, they have more responsibilities and we're trying to really work towards helping them be as self-sufficient as they can and learn how to handle their own struggles to get stronger with guidance. Yeah. I'm not just throwing them to the wolves, but we're asking them questions and trying to get them to move in a different direction. But I mean, and one of the things to kind of wrap all this up about the struggles and being grateful for everything that happened is that's where strength comes from. Yeah. By overcoming this kind of stuff, right? Without the struggle, there really is no life. We all get just lazy and die off at the first sign of adversity, so it's taking that struggle and getting stronger from it. Yeah. So then you can look back with gratitude, and find and then the ... choosing to feel happy. Right. And manifest happiness.
Beautiful. Wow. Thanks for being so vulnerable, Laura. I mean, that's a vulnerable share there, to kind of open up and let us see the paradigm of your ways of parenting there. And I think I just want to touch on that because it's so classic. It's like, if my child falls off the bike or they bump their knee, it's like, if I don't swoop in and coddle them, then will I be a bad parent? Right. Will they remember me not being there for them? And that's a thought or a belief system that a lot of parents have. So they want to do everything to prevent their child from falling off the bike or skinning the knee, or later on, not having the not accepted to college, or not getting the job. And they almost make it mean that if something painful or challenging happens to the child, that they're a bad parent, when really there is nothing broken or in need of fixing of you. You are so good and pure in the essence of who you are that there's no question in my opinion that you're a wonderful parent, and that they always are going to know that. And that knowing that about yourself, and knowing that if they bump and fall and hit their knee, they're going to have the strength to be able to get up and do that. And regardless, no, mom is still a good mom to me. And that's the confidence we want to build in parents, because like you're seeing is now the impact is later on, mom, like little kind of squeaky, fluffy birds.
I know. I'm like, you are old enough to make a decision. Take ownership of this and just make a decision. They're big wafflers. I don't know what to do. Hey, will you call so-and-so and ask? No, you call your doctor and ask these questions. They're not going to tell me you're a legal adult now. Hello. They're not going to be like, oh, you're the mom. Okay. Mia's 20 now. I'm going to talk to mom. They don't do that anymore, girlfriend. You've got to do it yourself.
Well, wonderful. Now I hear you're empowered. So I want you to walk in that empowerment, and you're putting an end to the enabling. That's so awesome. So go you, and thank you. That was a really vulnerable share. Thanks for bringing that to the table.
Well, thank you.
All right. So in your practice, Elizabeth, you work with entrepreneurs and coaches you take them on as clients, and I think maybe we bring it around to how can aspiring health coaches, folks who are diving into practice, diving into entrepreneurship, what can we extrapolate from this conversation and apply to maybe the aspiring entrepreneur that has limiting beliefs, like, can I do this? I'm an imposter. Who can I help? I'm not a doctor. I don't know how to run a business. Like, how can all of this stuff? How can we start shifting the conversation to support those folks?
I think what we're seeing today is it all comes back to ourself. In reality, everything that we're talking about comes back to our own perception of the way that we're seeing the world. And it comes back to looking into the ways in which our perception was shaped, and knowing that likely there have been experiences in our life that we have been defining our own abilities and worth and power, or have created then systems of behaving that then paralyze us or keep us stuck or doubting that we are capable of doing something. And it can manifest and show up first and foremost with the relationship we have with ourselves, with our physical body. If we have any insecurities or feelings of, not being beautiful enough as we are, right? How are we going to show up as a coach? How are we going to show up as an entrepreneur? And that, isn't it true, that same insecurity that's inside of us, it's not going to go away in a different sector of our life. It will just show up and be expressed in a different way. But that what we hold within ourselves will always be there unless we acknowledge it and choose to let it go. And what we hold within ourselves will be what we give out to our kids, to our partners, to our clients. And so it comes back to recognizing, for those who are wanting to be in this space and show up powerfully and be a true transformational figure for people, that you, as you are with yourself, is the determinant of how you relate to every other single person in your life. And it is your responsibility to be aware and present to yourself if you want to cultivate awareness and presence of other people. Because if you don't do that, you're going to take your stuff and implant it into their lives. And in my opinion, that's a disservice. So get solid in yourself. A coach always needs a coach. I have a coach, long lasting, standing. I talk with my coach either every week or every other week, because I'm super committed to being present, because that's my superpower. And that's how I will be able to transform other people's lives and make a difference on this planet.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love it. We talk about that a lot, about how I almost think the more successful you become, how more important it is to maintain that coaching relationship with somebody else to keep, I don't know. I mean, I think it's really, Erin and I just talked about some of the issues that come with success and being a hyper productive, high performing person that feels the need to kind of get all this stuff done. And that can really boy, that can get out of control really fast. And we also talk about all the time how important it is for coaches to do the work themselves within themselves, because it's not, you cannot coach somebody else into this kind of transformation if you've never done it before. And so here's a couple questions that come up, like, as far as this goes. One is more like the physical container. Hey, I'm not in the world's best shape. Can I be a health coach if I don't look like I popped off the cover of Men's Fitness or Women's Fitness? Do I need to have that kind of transformation? And then the other thing is, I've never really had any kind of real transformation. I've just sort of always been passionate about this kind of stuff. I'm having trouble finding my story. What would you say to those kind of two people?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, the question one was like, do I have to look like a model or a figure of a health coach to be a health coach? And in my opinion, no. That's an old tape running, and they're very, in that conversation, I can very clearly see, where you're at and where you're measuring yourself against other people. So let's get to the bottom of why you do that and what it is that you're feeling, insecure about, because your health and well-being is an energy that emanates from you. So if you're emulating insecurity and fear and shame, then you're not going to attract a lot of clients, or you're going to bring forward the ones that, are in a mirror image of yourself and may not be the most enjoyable for you to work with all the time, because you'll be coming up the same struggles that they have. And so to be a coach just means that you can look however you want, you can be yourself and just enjoy it, and know that your body's awesome. And that when you get to that place, you're going to love coaching. And then the second question was, I don't know my story, right? I don't know my story, or, how I got here. Well, let's look back at one of the biggest things that have impacted your life and that have shaped you, because in that is a lot of gold and a lot of information for us to help you see clearly where you've been, how that shaped you, how it impacted you, where it led you to, and why you are making this choice today to move out of what you can see has been sort of something that has kind of created the definition of who you are, and use that as a launch pad to then empower other people to do the same. We look at our back end and we think, where's the gold? And then where are the things that we don't need anymore to bring into our new life, right? That aren't serving us. So we're just mining for the beautiful gold to continue to integrate into our present, but we don't have to take all the stinky stuff that doesn't work for us anymore. Okay. So that's how we figure out our story. We look for the stinky stuff, the experiences that aren't, that pleasant for us. And we figure out where there's gold in them. And we help you see the gold. So then you can clearly help yourself see where you've been and where you're growing, and why you have a passion to do what you do, because you have already a full, what's it called when we go to an interview? Because I haven't done one of those in a long time.
Resume?
A resume?
A resume, right? Yeah. Remember, we all used to have so many things on our resume. Now we don't need them anymore. You already have a life resume.
Yeah.
And that's amazing that your life is your resume, and it's your gold. It's your golden ticket to being who, the thing that you desire to be. And the only thing I say about imposter syndrome is it's putting too much emphasis on what other people think.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
exactly.
Go be you.
Yeah, when we get that comment from some coaches who say, I didn't have a major health transformation, so I don't know, who I'm going to help. And it's like, look, something brought you to coaching. Something did. What was that? Like, what was that thing? It doesn't have to be a dramatic before and after picture. There's something in your lived experience that you thought, I can help people with this. And whatever it is, there are clients out there that really want help with it.
Yes. You can help anybody who comes to you because you already have the knowledge and wisdom within yourself, because your soul is already equipped to be able to relate to them, because you only attract who you can help, really.
Right. Absolutely.
And so, yeah, if you're just starting out, like, take the time to get clear about these kinds of things, and deep dive into the limits that we ourselves put on ourselves, and then like take the journey as like a beautiful opportunity to get to know who you are so you can better serve. And that's going to be a beautiful, fun adventure with a lot of twists and turns. But that's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. This was so great. I love conversations like this as it relates to coaching that has nothing to do with diet necessarily, nothing to do with fitness. It's just all about the internal work on the person and focusing on happiness and focusing on self. I always talk about as a health coach, I don't want to focus on your illness. I don't want to focus on the bad stuff. It's my job here as a health coach to help you stay focused on where the good stuff and where you want to go, and focused on wellness. And to the degree to which your illness falls away, awesome, right? And I think all of this holds true as it relates to happiness and designing the life you want to live and learning to take purposeful steps to get there. You're not going to get there if all you're focused on is what's holding you back.
Right.
You know?
Your quality of thoughts will measure the quality of your life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I know we're going to have a lot of people that want to find out more about you and kind of where to find you. So would you mind filling everybody in on where they can find you and find out more about you?
Yeah, thanks so much for offering that. I'm a community girl, so or rather woman. I'm a community woman. So I have a community on Facebook. It's called Empowered Soul. It's a beautiful Facebook group. You can come and join us if you're on Facebook online, and that way you can really be surrounded by like-minded. You can be a part of a community of people who are spiritually curious. They're wanting to take back their power to define health and beauty for themselves, and be able to really self-express and have a safe and sacred space to really commune and get to know and one another. And we do a lot of stuff there, free challenges. We have a radio talk show that I host there. It's called Nourish the Soul. It comes on every first Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. It's live. So there's a live broadcast inside that group, and that will open up doors and lead you to coming to my website, elizabethtripp.com, and coming through and perhaps taking a lifestyle design quiz and seeing where you're at and where you want to go. And then, of course, that always brings us closer together to see if I'm a good match for you. But I love for people to come and join the community online and just, come and feel the energy of what we're creating. It's a beautiful space and it's a wonderful place, and we want you there. So they can find us there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that invitation. And I'm definitely going to be checking it out. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of folks listening who will as well.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.
Well, if you've been listening at Health Coach Radio, you'll know that we're all about raising the voices of practicing health, fitness, and nutrition coaches, but most importantly, helping to further legitimize this exploding industry. Erin and I have disclosed often that we're on the faculty of the Primal Health Coach Institute, founded by none other than the health and wellness legend Mark Sisson. And we've interviewed dozens of guests from just about every different health coaching program you can think of, and who practice in just about any conceivable way you can think of. But our allegiance is to the health coaching industry in its totality, first and foremost. It's our desire to continuously and unapologetically lift and promote this industry that nudged us to create this podcast for you in the first place. It's this same yearning that encouraged us to take the educational offering at our health coaching school to the next level. We are so proud to offer the Primal Health Coach Level 2 certification course, which, when combined with our primary course, the Primal Health Coach certification course, not only satisfies the educational requirements to sit for the board exam, but is specifically designed to teach advanced coaching mastery. You will work closely with a small class of peers through this 12-week, very intensive, live online classroom experience to learn how to execute a coaching relationship that is truly transformational. You'll learn and practice how to ask powerful questions, what it means to hold space for your clients, but most importantly, how to actually do it. You'll learn about the craft of motivational interviewing and the nuances of habit change, goal setting, and accountability, and how to nurture your client's own inner knowing, their intuition, and their own self-efficacy, so that they will graduate from your care a truly transformed person. You want a big, successful, powerful coaching practice. And maybe you're devouring our episodes looking for the silver bullet that's going to launch your business into the upper echelons. We've said it a million times and we'll say it again. Your coaching skills are what will make or break you and set you apart for success in this field. So if you're looking to level up your coaching skills and maybe dial up your credential and become a board-eligible health coach, look no further. You can learn more about PHCI's Level 2 program at primalhealthcoach.com/level 2. But if you would value talking to a real person about your path to being a masterful coach and perhaps a board certified coach, book some time with me personally. You can access my calendar at primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or just call me. You can reach me at 844-307-7662. Thank you for listening to Health Coach Radio, and I hope I get to talk to you soon.